When it comes to holiday projects, I always say that I'm going to start early, but that never happens. I always end up making my projects the week before the holiday. For example, Halloween is probably going to be the biggest holiday coming up. I usually make my lanterns with the scary faces the week of, and I never saw any. So this year I wanted to start really early, and I happened to come across this idea. Somebody shared it on a Facebook post. I actually did reach out to the person that shared their idea to see if I can maybe give them a shout out here, but at the time of recording this video, this right now, I haven't gotten word back. But I took this idea and I thought I could incorporate it into a CNC project, and that is exactly what I did. So if you want to learn how to make this pumpkin decor, let me go ahead and show you how. You're going to want to stick around for this video. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Edgar with AE Timber and Pine, and right now there's a lot of conversations happening regarding the fall decor, and a lot of these pumpkin projects are being sold in different areas. So hopefully these are going to be popular in my area and in your area. This project really isn't that difficult to set up in the CNC or actually to execute it, but I will be upfront, it is kind of time consuming because there is a lot of extra stuff that you have to do to this project. So it's not just carving it on the CNC, it's the painting the edges after it's carved out. It's the painting of the dowels and cutting the dowels to the correct size. It's putting the little extra touches of the yarn or the twine on the stem of the pumpkins. So it's a little bit of all this extra stuff that does get added on that adds to the time. I wish it was just carve and go, but there is some extra stuff that you have to do, and that is where it's time consuming. With that being said, I'm going to take you step by step in Carbide Create on how to create this SVG, the appropriate SVG, and get it all set up for you. If you don't want to go through that, if you just want to go ahead and get started, I do have the file available in Etsy and it is ready to go. And just a heads up, I'm going to show you the final way that I've decided to make these going forward. I went through several different iterations to finally get it down just right. I went through different end mills, different offsets. For example, I'd use the 1/8 end mill versus the 1/4 inch end mill, down cut versus up cut, paint beforehand or paint after. So I'm going to share with you the process that I would go through moving forward now. Let's just go ahead and jump into Carbide Create now. All right, guys, so jumping into Carbide Create, the very first thing that you want to do is you want to bring in a octagon SVG file or vector. And what I ended up doing is I tried to create it myself by clicking on this create polygon option, and I just could not get it to be in the correct orientation. What I mean by that is here on the hexagon you have the flat bottom, but when I change the number of sides, it is now oriented here a little bit awkwardly. I don't have this flat bottom here at the bottom anymore. So even when I tried to rotate it, I just could not get the angle just right. As you can see here, it is not on the straight line of the grid. So I spent like 10 minutes trying to figure it out, and I ended up just buying a octagon SVG. So if that's something that you want to do, definitely go for it. With the octagon imported, you're going to have your octagon at a different size probably. So you're probably going to have it bigger, like something like this, or maybe even smaller. But what you want to do is you want to select it. You're going to click on this scale option, and let's go ahead and type in 4 for the width. And you want to have this keep proportions checkbox checked. And now our octagon is set to 4 inches. It's a 4x4 octagon. All right, so then the next step that you want to do is you want to create a rectangular vector, and you're going to go ahead and just create one real quick. And the width that we want it to be 2 because we want it to extend into the midway point of the octagon. And the height is going to be 0.75 because our material is 3/4 inch material. What we're going to do next is we're going to select our rectangular vector, and we're going to click and hold shift, and we're going to click on our octagon. We're then going to come here to this align vectors option, and we're going to align it vertically. Now it's in the center of this octagon in the vertical direction. What we're going to do next is within the align vectors option, we're going to click on this align to the left edge. We're going to click it to the left edge. So now the rectangle is in the center on the left edge. All right, so go ahead and deselect everything. Select only your rectangle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create an offset, a distance of 0.01 to the outside. And the reason why I want an offset is because I don't want a really tight fit. I want it to be tight enough that it'll still kind of be snug, but enough to be able to take out. In my first trial run, my offsets are a little bit bigger than this, but I think that this will actually work better to provide a snug fit. And both pieces of the entire pumpkin are going to have this 0.01 offset, so in total you're going to have a gap of 0.02, but it still should be able to slide in and out relatively easily. Once you have your offset created, you can go ahead and delete the original rectangle. We're going to select now our offset. With our offset now selected, you can see that the offset actually extends past the octagon, which is what we want. And so we're going to click on the octagon first. That will deselect the offset. We're going to zoom in on the offset, hold shift and select the offset. And now we're going to click on Boolean subtraction. That's the order that you want to select these vectors. You want to select the octagon first, hold shift, and then the offset. And then you're going to click on Boolean subtraction. And we're going to click OK, but I want to show you real quick that this blue line is the final product. So you can see that already that the blue line is going to give us that slot here. And so let's go ahead and click OK. So there you have it, guys. That is one piece of the puzzle, one piece of the pumpkin. Before we copy and paste this, I want to go ahead and create my tabs. Let's go ahead and click down here on the Edit Tabs option. What worked for me for this project is having 3 tabs. You go ahead and put however many you'd like. Go ahead and click OK once you have those there. Now at this point, I'm going to copy this by clicking Command C. And if you have Windows, it's Control C, and then Command V to paste it, or Control V to paste if you have Windows. And there you have it, guys. There is the complete puzzle, or the 2 pieces of this pumpkin. Let's just go ahead and quickly jump into the toolpaths that worked out for me. Like I said in the introduction, I had done many different runs of this particular project, and what worked best for me is the 1/4 inch end mill, and my recommendation is to use a downcut bit. It just gives you the better edges on the final product. You don't have to do as much sanding. I unfortunately only have a 1/4 inch upcut bit, but I was able to confirm that this is the best output because I had a 1/8 end mill run, and that 1/8 end mill was a downcut 1/8 inch end mill, and that came out perfectly. The only thing is that I was running it too aggressively. I did have some knotty pine, and I ended up breaking 2 bits, so I had to save my last one, and so I switched over to the 1/4 inch end mill. So just keep that in mind, guys. These are going to be the values that I ended up using. Go ahead and use the ones that you're comfortable with, but these are definitely good starting points. With my vector selected, I'm going to click on the contour toolpath. I'm going to click on use current selection. My 1/4 inch end mill is already selected, but I will edit the plunge and feed rate. What I ended up using was 45 for my plunge, 65 for my feed rate, and RPM at 18,000. I know that these values may be slow for a 1/4 inch end mill, but I ended up breaking 2 prior, so I wanted to be on the conservative side to just not break anymore, to be honest with you. So once you have that entered, go ahead and click OK. My max depth is going to be stock bottom because I do want to cut through the entire piece of the material. Really important here, guys, is that your offset direction has to be on the outside right. Currently, it is automatically or defaulted to inside left, and you can see that this blue line is the path that the end mill will take, and this is cutting our dimensions short. You don't want that. You want to click on the outside right. Now you can see that the end mill will actually travel on the outside of this vector, giving us the entire dimensions or the entire size that we had input into our project. So let's go ahead and click OK, and that's it. Let's take a look at the simulation. There you go. All we have to do now is run it. So let's go ahead and jump into that video montage, and then I'll give you some more tips that I learned along the way. Like I've said before, always run a trial run first. So that's what I did here. On this trial run, you're going to notice a couple of things. The first thing to notice is I ended up using a pocket to create the slot. On all the runs after this, I run it like I showed you in Carbide Create. It's just so much more efficient to run a single contour toolpath. As you can see here, I'm using a 1/4 inch upcut end mill. You can tell it's the upcut because of the fraying that is visible on top of the material. After this run, I decided to run a 1/8 downcut end mill. Before making any more, I also ensured that the dowel that I got would work with the 3/4 inch material. I ended up going with a 5/8 inch dowel, and I used my 5/8 inch Forstner bit to create the holes for the dowel. I have the WEN 8-piece Forstner bit set, and for the money, which is under $25, this pack is amazing. I'm not using this all the time, so for someone like me that needs it every now and then, this is more than enough, and again, you can't beat this price. There is an affiliate link below if you want to check them out and pick up a set. Also, I am using the WEN tabletop jewel press, and that's also a great tool for someone that doesn't use it heavily. The link is also in the description of the video if you'd like to check it out. With everything cut, I did a dry fit and everything worked out. One thing that I liked about this design is that I can store it away flat. Now with the trial run completed, I know that my settings will work, and I started preparing for the next run. I thought that painting before carving would have been a time saver or the way to go, but honestly I didn't save time because I was painting the edges and I ended up painting the entire thing just to even out the color. So I suggest not painting beforehand. That's just my opinion. I do recommend that you stain your dowel though before cutting those pieces to size. I did do that and I would definitely do that again. On the second run, I ran the 1/8 inch downcut end mill, and you can see here that the cut is so much cleaner. The only issue that I ran into was running it too hard, and I ended up breaking 2 end mills. After completing a run and breaking my second end mill, I ended up going with the 1/4 inch upcut bit. Although I had some fraying on the top of the material, I was able to carve out more without breaking the tool. Once I finished carving, I took my pieces over to the bandsaw and cut the tabs off. I'm using the WEN tabletop bandsaw, and I have been really pleased with this one, especially for these small jobs. And I know this video is starting to sound like a WEN commercial. I do recommend this bandsaw, so if you'd like to check it out, take a look at the description below of the video and pick one up if you're needing something similar. After cleaning up the tabs, I made the holes on top for the dowels. After finishing up that, I took all the pieces inside and ended up painting everything with my son and daughter. It was nice to have some help. Once those were completed, I sanded them using my orbital sander, but that was too aggressive, so I ended up using my 220 sanding block. To place the dowel in the top, I didn't even use glue. I simply hammered the dowel to set it in, and it was just a good tight friction fit. Here is the final product, guys. Tell me what you think. Thank you again, guys, for sticking to the end of this video. Let me know in the comments below how it works out in your area, or what did you think about the build process if you complete this project. All right, guys, I will see you on the next video.